Welcome to the Ascension Football Show. I am Kieran Edwards, and today on set we have a national icon, someone that played an instrumental part in our 2006 qualifying to the World Cup in Germany. Former national assistant coach, former keeper coach, we have with us Kelvin Jack.
They're just not playing games. They're not going to be as fit. They don't want to. I wouldn't say I was nervous. I wasn't nervous. I think I was just anxious.
We want to get a feel and let the viewers know who is the man. Since 2006, Kelvin has been out of the country. Now he's back home for some time, and it's a pleasure to have him on set. Pleasure to have you here, Kelvin.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Yes. And as we have you here, Kelvin, I want the nation to understand the importance of you and who you are. I know many persons would have watched that 2006 campaign, seen you in goal, but not been too familiar with you as a keeper, playing abroad. You played locally. So we want to get a feel and let the viewers know who is the man behind the 2006 successful bid to the World Cup.
Well, I'm a simple man. I was a hard worker as a player. I really pride myself in, being disciplined and being committed to the game. And yeah, I played for San Juan Jablotine locally, Ducks Kilwalas before that. I've been abroad since 2004 when I signed for Reading first and then moved to Dundee. And I'm home for a short while.
But Kelvin, give us the experience of playing abroad. You mentioned playing with Dundee. What's the experience? We have young players watch the show, and they need to know the experience of going abroad. First experiencing that, what to expect playing abroad, because we'll see players going on trials and coming back home, and I believe it's something to do with not being prepared for that international speed and type of football. So give us some insight in terms of your experience now leaving Trinidad and going into the international style of football.
Well, it's interesting you talk about the pace of the game, because that is something that really struck me when I went to Scotland. The pace of the game, it's a frightening pace. It's frenetic. And it took me a while to get used to the pace of the game. Probably took me about, 2 to 3 weeks to really get used to the pace. And, strikers always chasing you down. When you get a back pass, there's no time. So you have to make sure that you're really sharp and you're concentrating well. In terms of it's of course it's a different environment. It's a much more professional environment. I think I was quite prepared because Jablotine at the time when I left Jablotine was quite professional.
Okay.
So I was used to, in terms of clubs being professional. And again, as a player, I really did pride myself on being a disciplined player and making sure you're committed to the game and focused.
So but how did that shift? All right, so the experience from playing internationally and then qualifying for the World Cup, that experience at the World Cup, how much of that international experience would have helped you in making that push to the World Cup, and then the experience at the World Cup? So give us a bit about the experience and the help of playing internationally to have us there.
Playing overseas, I think really does prepare you to play international football. In that you get comfortable playing in front of big crowds, you get comfortable playing in high pressure games as well. You get used to the high demands from your coach and what have you. So in that sense, playing overseas is a very very good thing. In terms of the World Cup itself, of course, it's not an easy thing to qualify for. It's quite difficult. Our group here in CONCACAF, it's a very tough section, with the Mexicos and the US, Costa Ricas, and those teams. They're very difficult teams. But I felt at that time we had a very experienced squad. of course, led expertly by Dwight York and Russell Latapi, but we had a lot of players playing abroad at the time. And I think that really served us in good stead to be able to qualify for the World Cup.
Kelvin, that those two quality playoff games against Bahrain, um, playing at home, 1-1 draw, you in goal, and going to Bahrain, knowing that we have to get a result. You can't concede. You don't want to concede. You already got the away goal. They have the away goal advantage. And it's an important game, a tense game. Give us the experience of that game when we qualified for the World Cup, that playoff game against Bahrain in Bahrain.
You're right. It was quite high pressured. I could remember, and I'll touch on the second game first, the second leg. Chris Burchell was my roommate at the time, and we did not sleep, a wink. Did not sleep at all because we were just so consumed with the game. I think it was, obviously anxiety. I wouldn't say I was nervous. I wasn't nervous. I think I was just anxious. You knew the importance of the game. We knew the expectation from the fans, the expectation from your teammates, and of course you want to do well for your family. So it was quite high pressured. You also knew that you don't want to make a mistake in the game. So in that sense, it was quite stressful. But listen, at the end of the day, I think when you train properly and you do that over a number of years, that prepares you for games of that magnitude, and you're able to handle that pressure quite well.
And the experience of qualifying for that World Cup, when you saw Dennis's goal, and the final whistle being blown, and now it's sinking in the experience of knowing that you're going to that World Cup, the feeling of that. Give us the feeling, because many of teams would have tried qualifying. We had the 89 squad, and seeing how close they came to qualifications, and then your team, the 2006, the Soca Warriors as they call it, being able to go over the hump, get across the hump, and being able to qualify for the World Cup. Give us that experience of knowing that you got to the promised land, as they say.
Yeah, it was a fantastic experience. Getting there was quite tough, and we had some really difficult games in the build up. I think the game that, for me personally, which made me realize that we're probably going to qualify, was when we beat Panama 1-0 in Panama. It was really difficult conditions. We won 1-0, a fantastic finish from Stone John, on his weak side with his left foot. And I think after that game, I realized that, you know what, I think, we have a really good chance here to qualify. I knew we had difficult games still to come, but that game for me was the one that was the deal breaker. And of course, the experience being there, you're among the best teams in the world, the best players in the world, but you also have to think that you are one of the best players in the world. You're one of the premier teams in the world, so you wouldn't have that sense of feeling beneath the other teams. So it's important to have that confidence, so you're able to go out and do as well as you can.
Stellar career, Kelvin. Played at the highest level, played at a World Cup, played locally at a high level, won the professional league here with San Juan Jabate. Then transitioning into coaching. What's your reason to getting into coaching? What's your feeling? Because we see many players leaving the pitch and they don't want to see a pitch. They train every day, they train long hours, and they don't want to get into anything to do with football. You decided to go into coaching. Give us a reason to go into coaching.
Well, I just love football. I just love football. I love the pressure most about football. That pressure to do well, that pressure to be able to analyze the opponent, and not only analyze the opponent. How can I affect a player to do what I'm asking him to do? That's the real challenge in coaching, and I find that so exciting. I just absolutely love coaching. Obviously, it's a different part of the game now. I'm no longer a player, so I cannot affect the game in terms of being on the pitch, but I could affect the game in terms of me being a coach and really preparing the team and preparing the player mentally, physically. I love analysis. I love the analytical part of the game. It's just something I'm really, really passionate about now.
So when you see a goal going, Kelvin, sometimes you don't say, well, boy, I could have gone on the field, I would have saved that. No way you can let that goal score.
Yeah, of course, there are times that that thought
Yeah,
pops in,
yeah,
but at the end of the day, your first thought is, okay, how can we as a team prevent that?
yeah.
How could the defenders prevent that? What could I have done differently to stop that from happening? So that's the really exciting part of the game
But
of
Kelvin,
coaching.
you're speaking in the way that, are you just a keeper coach, or are you a coach in general? Is it, enlighten us on that? Because they would see Kelvin, they would see a keeper coming out and seeing that you're going into coaching and say, well,
Yeah.
he's a keeper coach. Or are you a generalized coach in a sense?
Yeah, well, that's the thing with former goalkeepers. When you're a former goalkeeper, everyone looks at you as a goalkeeping coach.
Mm.
If you're into coaching, they say, yeah, he's a goalkeeping coach. But I'm also a coach, all right? And I quite like coaching. Um, it's such a challenge to be able to, to decipher a team and analyze a team and respond to when a coach makes a substitution or when he changes a system, and how can I counter that? And it's almost like a chess match, trying to make sure that you're always organized and you're always able to counter whatever that team does. I love goalkeeping coaching as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely love goalkeeping coaching. The fact that goalkeeping is a science, in that you could improve so many things with a goalkeeper. There's so many things you could improve all the time. It doesn't matter the level that they play at, from footwork to your mental makeup, the way how you approach games, your communication, especially your tactical awareness and the team. How can you as a goalkeeper affect the game in that way in terms of giving out instructions and things like that? So, um, I am a coach, and
Uh,
I am a
game
goalkeeping coach.
coach
Yeah,
as well. So you have a leg up on most coaches because they wouldn't have the experience of being in the goal. So,
yeah.
but in terms of, give us some example of your experiences as a coach. Some places where you have coached already. Give us a bit of history in terms of your coaching thus far.
My first stint with coaching came, quite a few years ago. I was the assistant goalkeeping coach of the under 20 national team, and that really opened my eyes to coaching. I was still a player. I was playing with San Juan Jablote, and at the time it was John Granville and Jim Kelman here looking after our under 20s. And they both, I think they both saw potential in me in terms of coaching, so they gave me that opportunity to work with the team. I'll work with the two, with John and Jim, in terms of especially the defensive side of the game, with the back four and how we defend and what have you. So that was my first experience with coaching. Um, in terms of when I went abroad and I was playing abroad, I would take a lot of notes from the various managers in which I played for. I would find myself going back to my flat, to my apartment, and I'll be writing down things that we did in training, things that the manager said that I felt was really, really good. Even writing down things that he said I felt wasn't too good, because I always knew that I wanted to get into coaching. And when I retired, I took a break from the game, but I got back into coaching with an academy in England, Soccer Elite Academy, and that has been a really good experience. I've worked a lot with the goalkeepers, quite a lot with the goalkeepers, but the next part of the game in terms of the working with outfield
Yeah,
players, is such a challenge. It's such a joy
yeah,
to do that. So yeah, so that's my experience
that's
in,
it.
in
Okay.
coaching and what have you. Um, and I'm always grateful to John and Jim, all those years ago,
Yeah,
over 20 years ago, to
giving you
give me
that.
that experience when I was still
Yeah,
playing,
yeah.
to be able to, have that knowledge and that experience that I have today.
Thanks, Kelvin. When we come back from break, we go into the future and what is in store in the future for Kelvin Jack.
The situation we have here is that these characters, and I refer to them as pests, right? What they are doing is destroying our country, but not on my watch. No street, no turf, no block shall belong to these cockroaches, right? It's no longer business as usual. Happy hour is over. If they don't fear God, at least they will fear Terminix.
Have you considered how your methods could impact on pests across the country?
I find we look after the rights of pests as opposed to the rights of the 1.3 million law-abiding citizens in Trinidad and Tobago. I wonder if Roach Ladden's son come here for carnival, if you'll interview him, eh?
But how could you defend one shot, one kill?
What? You want me to throw a pillow at him?
I didn't say that.
No, well, if a roach jumps in front of you now, what will you do?
Run.
Oh, Jesus, Lord Father.
Pests bothering you? Call Terminix at 672-5007 or 672-0042 or visit our website at terminix.co.tt for a free quote and consultation. Join our fight against pests.
Get in the game with Ascension. Quality for champions.
Hey, Ascension! Ascension! Premium quality and style make you stand out all the time. Ascension is quality for champions. Ascension fit is always right. Take your game to higher heights. Ascension got the quality for champions. So everybody say, hey, oh. We wearing Ascension when we play. To run out on the field in style. What's the brand that we want? Ascension! 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 We wearing what we wearing is Ascension. Quality for a champion. Ascension! We wearing what we wearing is Ascension. Quality for a champion. Ascension! We wearing what we wearing is Ascension.
Get in the game with Ascension. Quality for champions.
Amante Del Cafe is located at Magnificent Mall, number 271 Southern Main Road, McBean, Couva. Amante Del Cafe. Happiness begins with brew.
Lasso Freight Maritime Limited, the best in marina services. At our facilities, security checks ensures that all vehicles are secured. Our newly renovated bathrooms are always kept in a clean working order. Need repairs and maintenance? We have you covered. Our qualified workmen will get the job done. Boat storages, from our marina, you can easily push off for a family sailing trip. Or out fishing with the boys. Or a fun DDI experience with friends. boat repairs, secured parking, extensive camera system, boat charters, boat rentals, down the island parties. Contact us at 1-868-634-1653. Lasso Frame Maritime Limited, the best in marina services. Life's better on a boat.
And we are back. Kelvin, recently the national senior men's assistant coach, relief of that duties, you're in Trinidad. Is it your intention to leave, to go back abroad, to go back into coaching, or are you looking at doing something locally, picking up maybe one of the professional teams, doing something locally with coaching? What's your intention in terms of going into coaching locally or going back abroad?
I'll definitely be heading back out to Europe, to the UK. I have a couple interesting projects that I'm going to be looking at in Europe. So I'm also due to begin my UEFA A coaching license as well. I was due to do it since last year, but of course the pandemic and everything, it was cancelled. So I'm due to still to begin that course later in the year. So I'm really looking forward to that. It's another step in terms of getting to my pro license. And I'm definitely looking to coach in Europe. Or in fact, anything that really comes up, in all honesty, because as a coach you have to be able to go wherever you're called, as long as the project does interest you. So yeah, I'll be heading back out there. I also have a couple invitations from Premier League clubs, from a couple Premier League managers, to go and look at training for 10 days. Again, that's all dependent on COVID as well, because they're not too keen to have you come into the ground, because of COVID protocols and what have you. And because they try to keep a bubble as much as they can. But I have that offer to go into to two clubs. I'm hoping that it comes true.
Right.
And it's about learning all the time. Always trying to improve. And I think being abroad is where you could really get that experience. Yes, it's good to coach in Trinidad and what have you. But it's very important, in my opinion, to get that experience abroad and different philosophies and different coaching techniques and different diets and different players and different systems. There's so many things that you could learn being out in Europe or being abroad anyway. It could be South America as well.
It's a change of atmosphere.
A totally different environment.
You mentioned the UEFA A license. You have to go and continue your UEFA license. How you start that process for young coaches out there? We know there are coaches would dream of they hear about the UEFA license all the time. How do you get into that program, and how is that program progress in terms of, is it from C to B to A? How does that program really operate, and how long is it? So give the coaches looking on some sort of guidance or process to the UEFA license.
Well, in England, in the UK, you start with your level one. But when you've played at a certain level, you're more or less given per se, your level one coaching license. I did my level two badge, did my UEFA B license. UEFA B that takes a few months to complete, a couple months to complete. I think we did 2 batches of a week each in the classroom, if memory serves me right. And I know the UEFA license, that's probably going to take between a year and 15 months to complete fully. That is really getting on the business end now of your coaching, certifications and what have you. It's something you have to complete if you really want to go and coach at a high level. So it's a prerequisite to landing a job at a top club or a top national team and stuff like that. It's a matter, in terms of young coaches, wanting to get these qualifications. They're not cheap as well. They're not cheap, but it's something that they should definitely do, because it really gives you a broader idea of coaching, and it's helpful. It's quite helpful.
And Kevin, with that experience, all the amount of experience you have playing abroad, coaching abroad with the UEFA license and such, what do you think, in your view, is needed for the local game, a resurgence in the local game amongst youths in Trinidad? What's your thoughts on that? Knowing that we've been struggling a bit at youth level, what's your
I'll tell you something that we're going to struggle with in the next few years. As a result of this pandemic and no football going on right now, I, I really do feel for the young players because, and I'm talking about the players between the ages of 14 to 16, because I think there's a really huge part of their development that they're missing, right? They're not playing games, so they don't have that much experience. So they're missing out on 2 years of tactical development, 2 years of technical development, um, and they're just not playing games. They're not going to be as fit. They're not going to have that much fitness. So we are going to be behind. We will be behind, and it's going to be difficult to catch up because we were already behind in terms of CONCACAF, especially with the Mexicos, the US, and these countries. So we were already behind. Now, because we've not played football for going on 2 years now, we are fallen even further behind. So it's going to be very difficult to bridge that gap. No, it's not impossible, but the reality is, if I'm going to be totally honest, it's going to be very difficult to bridge that gap.
Alright. And we know recently, relief of your duties, we have an interim coaching staff at the national level. The head of the Trinidad and Tobago Football Federation, or the normalization committee at this time, they said that they'll be sending out tenders for a new coaching staff. Um, would Kelvin Jack be sending in his application to be part of the new coaching staff of the TTFA whenever that happens? We know we recently came back from the Gold Cup bid, um, being knocked out in the first rounds. But what's your thoughts on in terms of the future with national coaching? Would you be applying? Do you see yourself as a national coach in the future?
Oh, without a doubt, I think in the future, I could contribute to Trinidad football in that sense. Immediately, no, I'm not going to apply for any of the positions and that, because at this point, I do believe that my career is better served in terms of even gaining more experience. I'm really looking forward to those that stint going and looking at how Premier Leagues train, and a couple of the managers that I've been invited to come in and look at training and stuff, and heading out to Europe. I'm due to go to Cyprus as well, at a football club out there, and have a look around and watch training and things like that. So I think in terms of that, I'm better served in developing myself personally as a coach, and going that route. In the future, without a doubt, it's your country and you want to contribute in that sense. But for now, I'm looking at my development.
No problem. So give us. You mentioned the players, young players, having some setback because of the pandemic and because of the lack of football being played, lack of tournaments for players as well. What would you tell a young player, a young Kelvin Jack, 14, 16-year-old Kelvin Jack going through this pandemic? What would you tell him to stay focused through this period?
Well, these young boys and girls, they need to stay focused. They need to train. They need to get out and just train and maintain their general fitness, and also become better with the ball. So I would say go outside every single day and juggle the ball and do things like that. Just familiarize yourself with the ball to develop your technical level. That's all they can really do. Work on their physical fitness and their technical ability in that sense. If they do that, they wouldn't be too far behind in terms of the technical sense, in terms of the ball control and what have you. But nothing beats actually playing games. That experience that they're losing right now, could be potentially detrimental, really detrimental to how they develop. Listen, fingers crossed that football could be resumed soon, and it's in our best interest for football to resume soon.
And when we come back from break, Kelvin, I want to put you on the hot seat. I want you to select your all-time Trinidad and Tobago 11. I know you'll have some friends you would have to leave out, but think about it. Think about it. When we come back from break, we put Kelvin Jack on the hot seat.
Pest control is a pain, but you don't have to go it alone. If you're a business that needs someone who will fix your problems point blank, go with the brand that's tested. Go with Terminix. Born almost a century ago in Memphis, Tennessee, Terminix International's mission has been to spread its innovations across the world through its integrated pest and termite management system, reducing the infestation of pests and vermin. Our Trinidad franchise neutralizes the threat of tropical insects and ensures that companies, from food production to hospitality, protect their investment and get the maximum value from our relationship. And we've been doing it well for over 20 years. Termites and pests are relentless, but they're no match for Terminix. Contact us today for a free consultation and quote, and let's introduce you to convenience. Protect your premises today. Choose a service provider that persists. Talk to Terminix.
Pests bothering you? Call Terminix at 672-5007 or 672-0042 or visit our website at terminix.co.tt for a free quote and consultation. Join our fight against pests.
Get in the game with Ascension. Quality for champions.
Hey, Ascension! Ascension! Premium quality and style make you stand out all the time. Ascension is quality for champions. Ascension fit is always right. Take your game to higher heights. Ascension got the quality for champions. So everybody say, hey, oh. We wearing Ascension when we play. To run out on the field in style. What's the brand that we want? Ascension! 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 We wearing what we wearing is Ascension. Quality for a champion. Ascension. We wearing what we wearing is Ascension.
Get in the game with Ascension. Quality for champions. Lasso Frame Maritime Limited, the best in marina services. At our facilities, security checks ensures that all vehicles are secured. Our newly renovated bathrooms are always kept in a clean working order. Need repairs and maintenance? We have you covered. Our qualified workmen will get the job done. Boat storages, from our marina, you can easily push off for a family sailing trip. Or out fishing with the boys. Or a fun DDI experience with friends. Boat repairs, secured parking, extensive camera system, boat charters, boat rentals, down the island parties. Contact us at 1-868-634-1653. Lasso Frame Maritime Limited, the best in marina services. Life's better on a boat.
Del Cafe is located at Magnificent Mall, number 271 Southern Main Road, McBean, Couva. Amanzi Del Cafe. Happiness begins with brew.
Kelvin, we put you on your hot seat. Your all-time best Trinidad and Tobago 11, minusing yourself. You can't select yourself in goal. So
Okay.
I take some pressure off of you right there because I don't know if you'll select yourself as a keeper, but give me your all-time. Give me a system you'll play first, and then the players that will fill in that system.
Okay. I quite like 4-3-3, so I'll go with a 4-3-3 system. In terms of an all-time Trinidad and Tobago 11, that is not easy. Honestly, that is a really, really tough one. So in goal, I'll have to go with Lincoln Phillips. I've seen clips of him, but from what I've heard from so many people, and I think he more or less revolutionized goalkeeping in terms of Trinidad and Tobago football in history. So I have to go with him. I also have two of his books that I've used as my reference, when I played and what have you, and I still look at them. I have his latest book as well that I've been reading. So in goal, we're gonna have Lincoln Phillips. On the right side, right back, I'm gonna have Brian Williams. Good player, very, very solid, rarely made an error during their World Cup campaign. He's a player that I always admired. My centre halves will be Clayton Morris, who I rate really highly. I think if Clayton was playing in today's game, he would play at a top club.
Yeah, played in
He's very comfortable on the ball. He's a ball playing centre back. He could definitely, in my opinion, play at a good club, probably in La Liga or somewhere there. My other centre half, I would probably go with I'm gonna go with Dennis Lawrence.
I was waiting to see which
I'm
warrior
gonna
would be
go with
first.
Dennis Lawrence.
Okay.
6'7". Looking at Dennis, you would think that he could look a bit gangly and things like that, but he's comfortable on the ball. He's technically good, good defender, and listen, he scored the header that took us to the World Cup.
You feel that header nudge him in front of Dog Marvin Andrews in your opinion?
Oh gosh, that is another one. Marvin Andrews, has been brilliant for Trinidad and Tobago, and I mean brilliant. Hard worker. I've not seen anyone in football history, and I mean this, in football history, better in the air than Marvin Andrews. What a defender. But I'm gonna stick with Dennis.
Okay.
I'll stick with Dennis. My left back, it'll have to be Marvin Foston, who, in my opinion, is one of the three greatest Trinidad and Tobago footballers. Period. I just think he was a magnificent player. Another one who could have played or should have played at a high level. I was lucky to play with Marvin on the back end of his career when he was at San Juan Jablote. I think he was like 35 or something like that, 36 at the time, and he was still such a good player, and it's someone that I really looked up to when I was growing up as a young player. In midfield, at the bottom of the diamond, I'm gonna have David Naked. Again, technically very good. He could control the tempo of the game. Wonderful on the ball. He could spot a pass, and he would break so many lines with his passing. Really good player.
How much of David Naked do you think Trinidad and Tobago would have missed in the early parts, the controversy over him not being selected for national duty? How much of David Naked do you think Trinidad really missed? Because many persons when you mention David Nackett, they really don't know him that much. They saw him in latter half of his career coming back into the system, but how much of it, being a player, being around the years when Nackett played, how much of it do you think Trinidad really missed?
We missed him. We missed him big time. And if we had him, during those early years, I think we could have achieved bigger things. He's such a good player, just so comfortable on the ball, always wanting the ball. He's brave in possession. Rarely ever gave the ball away. An all-time great for me in terms of Trinidad and Tobago midfield players. So we got David Nackett at the bottom of the diamond. To the left of him, I've got to put, Russell Atapi. What can I say about Russell Atapi? Russell Atapi is, technically perfect. Even when I was his teammate, between 2004, 2006, I used to look at him in training and be in total awe with the level he would get to in training. Again, he could pass with either foot, right foot, left foot. Could be long, short passing. He would take risk. He would always won the ball. Listen, he is a top player. He was a top player.
Yeah, we have seen that.
The other player on the right side, I've thought long and hard about this, but I want some solidity in the team. We have Nackett, who is a ball playing deep line midfielder, a creative midfielder. Although he's at the bottom of the diamond, he's creative. But I'll go with somebody like Hudson Charles. He had a brilliant campaign again, for the Strike Squad back in 1989, and I always remember his performances. And he pops up with goals as well. I'll never forget, the goal he scored against the US in 1989. Fantastic goal, good finish on his left side, and he would always arrive late. Fantastic player. 3 players up front. Wow. This is the business end here.
Yeah.
To the left up front, I'm going to go with Steve David. You can't deny the fact of how good he was. I was trying not to forget the players from yesteryear, and we can't dismiss what they did back in their time. And when you look and you assess what he did, in my opinion, you've got to include him. So I'm going to have Steve David there. I'm going to leave, oh my God, center forward. Whoa, center forward. You cannot, as your reference, as your center forward, I can't leave out Stone John. Right? I can't leave him out.
Record goal scorer for Trinidad.
Record goal scorer. Scored an incredible double against Mexico to keep us in that game. He scored that decisive goal against Panama when we won 1-0 in difficult conditions off his left foot. So I've got to include Stern. Brilliant finisher.
You'd have been the man really making us push on in that second half of World Cup qualifying as well with his goals in terms of
definitely.
Yeah.
So Stern John is going to be my center forward. To the right of Stern, we've got a few candidates. We've got
give us a few of the candidates you will put on the right, and then let me know who you select.
We've got people like Leonce Lewis, so important during that 89 campaign. So important. He'll be very effective coming from the right. Of course, you've got another legend, Dwight York. Do I play him on the right side there? His best position, I think, during his heyday was as a centre forward for Manchester United. so it's a tough choice, you know. To the right, you've got people like Arnold Dwarka and Gally Cummins. Wow, wow. For his versatility and being able to adapt, I'm going with Dwight York. I'm going to go with Dwight York. You know, this is a player who, yes, I believe his best years was as a centre
yeah,
forward
yeah,
for Manchester United, but he showed how he could adapt in becoming a midfield player.
Yes, days in Sydney, coming
Exactly.
back. Even with our national team, he played centre midfield
He
for
played
some bit.
central midfield and, you know, technically very good. So I would play Dwight to the right of a three, and you know Dwight York.
Dwight is the ultimate professional.
Without a doubt.
He would give you a professional shift anywhere you put him on the field. I think Dwight is that type of guy.
So that would be my
that's
all-time Trinidad 11. Okay. Listen, I know that a lot of gonna get some phone calls. why I left why I left them out, but that's what I could come up with for now.
No problem. It's been a pleasure having you on set, Kelvin. Feel free to come back anytime. Whenever you're in Trinidad, give us a call at the Ascension Show. We'll be more than welcome to have you.
Of course, it was my pleasure being here.
And that's it for another Ascension Football Show. Remember to watch us on our Facebook and YouTube and our website at the Ascension Football Tournament.